Hello, everyone. How are you? In this Thursday, we're about to start an event. The event is UC Global Chat and Guest Lecture with the theme Leadership and Intercultural Communication. Let me introduce you to myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I'll be the host of today's event. And also, I would like to say hello to all the students here. Join us via YouTube and also listening us via UCVcom Radio, and also join us here in the Zoom. We have around, let me check. Wow, we're about having more than 200 participants here who join our class today. Hello, they are from different classes. One is from integrated communication context, and then also from international communication class, and also from TV and film productions, and also everyone from the UC Global organization. I welcome you to this today's event. Let me tell you a little bit about our event today. It cannot be happened without a collaboration between networking and partnership department from Universitas Ciputra Surabaya, and also the collaboration with Fakultas Ilmu Komunikasi dan Bisnis Media or School of Communication Science and Media Business Universitas Ciputra Surabaya. So today's event are held by Zoom and also live in YouTube and also live in UCVcom Radio. So here with us, we have attendees from Curtin University, who some of them also will be the presenter of today's event. And also we are joined by attendees from Universitas Ciputra as well. So we would like to say hello first to our guest from Curtin University. There is Miss Mina Cho from International Partnership Consultant, Curtin University. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Nice
nice
seeing
meeting
you all.
you. And also, of course, Miss Patricia Kelly from In-Country Recruitment Executive for Indonesia, Curtin International, Curtin University. Hi, Patricia.
Hello, everyone. Good to virtually meet you.
Yes, we too. We love to see you guys from Curtin University. And also, we will later joined by our main guest lecturer, Professor Robert Evans, Dean International, Faculty of Business and Law, Curtin University. But before we start our main event, I would like to inform all of the students to make sure you have renamed your Zoom account according to your class's instructions. So we will check your attendance for today's class by your name in the participant list in our Zoom. And also you have to check your e-learn from your own class and read the instruction for today's resume. So remember, you have a resume to make today. So make sure you check all of the instruction to make the resume. And also for the student who is watching this event live in YouTube or UCVcom Radio, if you have any question, you can write your question via Slido by the code 213742. You can see the code in the share screen in front of your screen. So, but for the student who joined via this Zoom, you may raise your hand to ask question at the Q&A session. Okay, we will open a Q&A session and you may ask directly to our guest lecturer if you raise your hand. I have to remind all the students who is watching via YouTube to keep the comment section polite. So remember, you have to keep your integrity and think before leaving the comments. And after these events end, you have to fill a survey in your CHIS dashboard before tomorrow, because the survey only lasts for 24 hours. So student, after these events and you submitted your resume, make sure you check your CHIS dashboard to fill in the survey about this today's event. So that's my information for all the participants here in Zoom and also in YouTube. So before we start our main event, we would like to hear from the head of networking and partnership Universitas Ciputra Surabaya, whom without her we cannot hold this today's event. So Mrs. Suryani, please give us your warmest welcome. The floor is yours.
Hello everybody. It's very exciting today, right? So we met our long last partner, Curtin University. It is located in Perth, in Singapore, and Sarawak. Of course, that goes a long time ago since we met Patricia. If you guys remember, last year also we have this kind of event, right? So let's enjoy it. Listen well. The culture of learning is different in each country, right? But we have one thing in common. We promote entrepreneurships and we like cultural exchange also. Okay, so stay tuned. Hope you enjoy that. Give us a big applause then for our guests.
Yes, of course. Give a round of applause too for Ms. Suryani. Thank you for your warmest greeting. And with that, Ms. Suryani, thank you very much. We can now start our main event, starting with UC Global Chat with Ms. Minacho and also Mrs. Patricia Kelly. But let me introduce you our moderator who will lead our UC Global Chat session. She is the Vice Head of Networking and Partnership Department who specializes in international office. She is also a lecturer of International Business Management Program in Universitas Ciputra Surabaya. She is one and only Mrs. Gracia Ongko Wijoyo, Sarjana Ekonomi, Master of Science. Ms. Gracia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Glad to see so many students joining this event today from Communication Study Program, from ISB Study Program, IBM IC Study Program, and all the UCIC members. Okay, so first and foremost, welcome to UC Global Chat session. Today, we're going to discuss about studying at Curtin University. For your information, guys, Curtin University is one of the top 1% universities worldwide, according to Academic Ranking of World Universities 2021. As Ms. Amanda already mentioned, today we have our two special guests for the UC Global Chat session, Ms. Minacho and Ms. Patricia Kelly. Let me read their bio to introduce both Ms. Mina and Ms. Patricia to you guys. Okay, so Ms. Minacho is International Partnership Consultant at Curtin University. She achieved her MBA and Master of Business in Marketing in 2007 and has extensive experience for 14 years in international education. Her expertise lies in business development, including student recruitment, higher education pathways, and university partnerships. In her current role as the International Partnership Consultant, she designs and implements the unique supports that international students require when transitioning to an Australian degree. She is passionate about student engagement and multicultural communication. She is also running professional seminars on communication skills, leadership skills in the local community. Hi, Ms. Mina. Let me introduce you to Ms. Mina. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hi. Okay, thank you. And then we have Ms. Patricia. Okay, let me read her bio as well. Ms. Patricia Kelly is currently working as the in-country recruitment executive in Indonesia for Curtin International at Curtin University. Having been in the international education industry for over 20 years now, she holds extensive experience in student counseling, recruitment, and partnership establishment. She has dealt with many potential students and their parents, including those seeking for higher degree research study, and seen many changes and differences over the years. She thinks highly of the importance of identifying one's interest and future plan prior to choosing a study program. Hi, Ms. Patricia. Okay, so welcome again, Ms. Mina and Ms. Patricia. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Miss Gracia. Such a warm welcome, and I absolutely appreciate it. I'll start by sharing my slides. Oh, very nice to meet you all in this virtual space. And my name is Mina Cho, as Ms. Gracia helped explain, from Curtin University. It is such a wonderful opportunity that we are having here. And I thank Universitas Ciputra for such an opportunity and such a great organization over this event. You guys are lucky to have such a wonderful team. Right. We're delivering this event from Perth, Western Australia, Curtin University. So I'd like to begin this session by acknowledging the traditional custodian of the land, the Wajak people of Noongar Nation in this land where we are delivering this session, Perth, Western Australia. And I also pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Moving on, today I would like to introduce my colleague who will be helping with the questions and answers with her expertise dealing with all the students, Ms. Patricia Kelly. Sorry, Patricia. Hello from you.
Hi everyone. Like Mina said, we deliver this from Perth, basically only Mina. I only have the background there. That's our lovely campus, but I am actually in Jakarta. So yes, I can speak Bahasa Indonesia, so that's easy. You may welcome to address your questions in Bahasa Indonesia as well. But since you are UC students, I'm sure using English is on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so hope you enjoy the session and you find the information useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. In this short session, and I will try to make it as engaging as possible, and we separated it into two parts. Firstly, I will give you the overview of Curtin University and our partnership with UC, and Patricia will take over with a question and answer, mostly frequently asked questions, and also to the opportunity to answer your questions, that whatever you may have. So as Ms. Amanda instructed, use Slido and send in lots of questions that we will try to accommodate it as many as possible. So let's see where we are. The big dot down there is down under Western Australia, where we sit in Curtin University. And this yellow big dot is where you are now, Universitas Ciputra. The small dots indicates Curtin University's small campuses and around the world. So truly it is a global university. As you can see, we are so close. We only have a 1 hour time difference that we can just hop on the flight, usual time. In usual time, you can hop on the flight and exchange our ideas anytime we want. But it is quite interesting. It's so close, yet we are quite different in terms of cultural or work and life policy and academic culture as well. So today, we like to explore some differences and the opportunities for our students to take advantage over the both world, the best of both worlds. Thank you, Ms. Garcia, explaining where we sit in Curtin University. We are very proud that Curtin University ranks in the top 1% or worldwide. That was dedicated effort over the past 50 years. And also we are one of the top 10 Australian university nationally. We're very proud in rather than the ranking itself, in terms of the quality. Western Australia, Curtin University is top university in terms of graduate employment and learning experience of the students. Particularly, we appreciate that feedback from the students. let's talk a little bit about Perth. We're so close and so far. Great thing about Perth is also backed up by this the global research. Perth is one of the top 10 most livable city in the world. Indeed, we are 6th best city to for the livability in the world. So what does that mean? So how does that rank? If you ask, it is by the employment, stability of the city, and healthcare services, infrastructure, cultural diversity, and education. So all figures all together, and they rank all the cities around the world. So it is quite incredible that Perth is ranked 6th in the world. And special comment here, Perth actually scored 100 out of 100 in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. It's a wonderful factor particularly for you to consider your study destination. Also, safety is not important to mention as well. So we're all ready with wonderful weather and all the wonderful figures that we have officially vetted and checked. What you're looking at now is the campus and overlooking the Perth city. So we are at the campus of Curtin University. It's about 15 minutes drive away from the city. So the little pop-up over there at the top of the horizon is a Perth city CBD area. So it's very close. Curtin University also has this master plan project of university city, as in the greater Curtin. So we are quite close to the CBD area, and we will also have the monorail going from between the city and the campus, so that we can truly integrate industry into our academia. So I hope you to be part of it. The size of the university is, you can see the little red dots around. So Curtin University is quite large. It's so wonderful when you walk around the campus, lots of green spaces and modern buildings where you can enjoy your campus truly. So Curtin is arguably the largest campus within Western Australia. It's a lot for you to take advantage. So enough of the Curtin University. Let's talk about our specialty area today, the particular topic of Faculty of Business and Law. With that, I would like to share a short video for you to listen in, and so that you have a little bit of opportunity to see the campus a little bit and our strengths. So I'll switch up my video here for your viewing pleasure and playing the video.
The Faculty of Business and Law Industry Connect team acts as a conduit between our host organisations and our student body. We have plus 20 areas of commerce that we teach, and therefore our industry partners run across that breadth of 20 majors.
So the Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a not-for-profit member-based organisation. We have over 9,000 businesses that are our members within Western Australia. Since 2016, the CCI has been located on Curtin University Bentley campus. So as far as we know, this is the only Chamber of Commerce that is located on a university campus in the world. This is beneficial for all of the Curtin University students as we help them connect directly with businesses that are here in Western Australia.
So I did a marketing and public relations internship. I thought this would be a great opportunity to develop those skills that I'm learning at university, and it was one of the best experiences I've had at uni.
It took me about 3 months from the point of doing my resumes, polish it, making it speak as much about myself as a potential candidate as possible. And I went through an IQ test, an EQ test, and then the most important step is absolutely the interview section.
We do all of those things that would be expected of a student upon graduation and seeking their first employment. The fact they get to do it in a controlled and supported environment, I think is a massive advantage. The feedback we get is very much that it gave me that confidence to move forward in my career. And for me, that's just great to hear.
Well, a lot of the things that I'd learned in the classroom, this was a great opportunity for me to then practically apply those. So in terms of content related to marketing and public relations, communicating with other people, stakeholders and things like that, it was a really great opportunity for me to be able to do that.
It's absolutely valuable, and I would highly recommend that to anyone else to actually do that, because it's great that you're actually being put in an international environment like Curtin, and then you have to actually implement those set of learnings and theory skills into an working environment to actually test your knowledge and being able to see whether you have that employability.
Once they get out into that workplace and really do build that bridge between what we've taught in the classroom and what they're doing out in industry, confidence just skyrockets. That's what we love to see.
Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that also that the mantra of education, culture, and pedagogy from Curtin University translated through this video, that Curtin is all about industry readiness, career ready, and practical education. So it is all about getting you ready to the real world. We talked a little bit about the university. So what about Faculty of Business and Law itself? I'm glad to share that Curtin Business School itself is ranked, officially recognized as top 1% business college in the world by achieving triple accreditations by the WSCSB and EFMD accredited MBA and ACUS. The three of them puts us in the top 1% of business colleges in the world across over 12,000 business colleges. So all our education is backed up by the global leading institutions. Faculty of Business and Law currently hosts about over 70,000 students, and it is the most preferred university choice within Western Australia, even for domestic students as well. So 50% of Western Australian local students will choose Curtin University Business School as the first preference and will go about the rest of the university. Also, international students indeed choose Curtin University as a destination when they come to Western Australia. So we know half of the Western Australian students actually coming to Curtin University. When it comes to the study experience, the facilities, environment, learning environment is really important for you. So I'll go through some facilities that we have to really help our students' learning journey. We are very proud. What you're seeing now is our trading room, where our accounting, finance, and banking students actually get to use the same software and the visualization to really immerse themselves into the real world situation, like they are working in the Wall Street. So when they actually go out to the job and they are already familiar, can adapt to it. This space is open to any students who are taking those units. So that's just a part of the real world education. The second room that you're looking at is the agency. This is a social media command center. You saw a little bit of the clip from the video that we just shared. In this session, probably the marketing student, a lot of students who enrolled into the marketing unit take advantage of this software in a room with lots of information, what's going on in the social media, who are talking about our organization, and is our competitor gaining more traction, or is the sentiment right level, whether it's a positive, are they talking about something positive or negative? And who are we talking on? Who are we compared to? What do we need to do in terms of communication plan? So really important to come out with this communication strategy. This will be part of your study while you are in Curtin University. This software, most of the software wares are available for students on the phone or their own laptop as well. You're saying management HQ is actually for the business executives, a real life situation, and that's to bring it, and we brought it to our students, all the visualizations tools around, and also the other parties across the world joining in the meeting virtually. All these tools are critical to make a really high stake, high level decision. So you really bring out to your face all the information is available to compare the different information and finally make the very important decision in management. So it is very interesting space, and really you get to really feel why you chose the areas of study that you are in. So in this section, I will go through the actual learning that you have, actual support around you. You, of course, specialize in your own major area, but how do we talk about the practical education and career ready? I know that Universitas Ciputra is already the leading player in actual the practical education. It's all about entrepreneurship. So we'll top it up in that area a little bit more. Firstly, when it comes to the education, all universities talked about the industry ready and practical education, but how do they do that? So from Curtin, it is a wonderful opportunity that all our students in business get an opportunity to do an industry internship. Curtin University, as the video explained, is one of the very first university indeed in Australia that Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the office actually sits in the campus. The office is in our campus, and this organization is not for profit organization with the membership of 9,000 businesses across Western Australia. And we set up, we have 7,000 students here, and Curtin University, you have 9,000 business, let's match it up. So we provide, place our students and walk them through through the internship for them to learn the real world skills and the expectation that they learn. Throughout this, a lot of students, through this internship, a lot of students actually find the employment as well. It's a wonderful opportunity. I encourage everybody to go through that. Before that, as you start our journey with us, as I heard that Ms. Amanda mentioned about the resume writing, all the skill set, you will continue at Curtin as well. As soon as you launch your study at Curtin, there will be lots of skills workshop, career development opportunity, networking, and especially I like to highlight in here, Earn While You Learn program. So there will be lots of opportunity even for you to find employment within the university while you're studying and get paid as well. So tune in. Throughout your study, you will have lots of seminars given by the industry lecturers, industry people and lecturer, and you will engage yourself into lots of networking events. So don't wait until you graduate. And throughout all this time, you will continuously, we will create the environment for you to go and meet people so that you are truly ready by the time that you graduate. Also, you will also immerse yourself into the student professional clubs. As you can see in the logos, Curtin Marketing Club, Law Society, Enactors is our entrepreneurship student club, Human Resource Management and Bloom, and PR Association, and so forth. We have a little bit of familiar faces, so I thought I would introduce, you may know Tencent, arguably the biggest tech giant across the world, based in China. This Chief Financial Officer, John Low, is our alumni from Curtin Business School, and he speaks highly of his time at Curtin. Brief introduction. So all is great. I think it's just partnership with Universitas Ciputra and Curtin is a great match coming from the culture of Ciputra, of entrepreneurship and innovation. So I will give a brief overview of how we can make the partnership the most. I'm very glad to inform you that the UC and Curtin, we mapped out the double degree program. So it is an opportunity for students to complete the 4 years bachelor the same time, but will achieve 2 degrees from Ciputra, and at the same time, Curtin, Western Australia as well, the same time. You will do 2 years, year 1 and 2, and will have some credit transfer to Curtin University, Bachelor of Commerce, and spend 1.5 years at Curtin and go back for final semester to complete the final project. By doing that, you will achieve 2 degrees from both university. It is really the best option for the taking advantage of both worlds. The majors that you may be able to choose from Curtin is all the lists are here: marketing or international business, or entrepreneurship, and all the majors that you may be able to choose from the list. Just to show that the snippets of the study plan that when you transfer to Curtin, these are the units that you may be able to choose. So out of so many majors, I've just chosen the good fit from our major choices. First, international business, second, marketing, and also the final one in management. So you will see the first semester at Curtin. And from the second semester, you will see a little bit of difference in the second semesters. For example, international business, you will get to see a lot more with organizational behavior and international management and the business ethics and so forth. Marketing, again, going into the marketing research and service marketing, digital marketing, all different areas. What I would like you to pay attention to the business capstone unit at the end, the final semester you will get to do at Curtin. This includes to incorporate all the learnings that you've done and actually putting into the practice. So first example, you may choose to do the business innovation lab, where you will form a team to solve the interdisciplinary team from different areas, marketing, accounting, or any HR management, different students from different majors to solve the business problem in market space. Or you may opt to do a business internship that I just introduced and work with the organization about a minimum of 100 hours and also get a credit. Business engagement activity is where you get the supervision of industry practitioners and actually solving the real world problem, being immersed to it. And global experiences where could be a study tour, international study tour, or local study tour that you go out to the region of Western Australia or across the world and finding a solution in the business. So exciting final capstone units. And then you will go back to University of Ciputra to complete your final semester and complete the final project there. If you are not in the business area, you also have an opportunity to come to the Curtin University by utilizing study abroad option. You can study at Curtin 1 semester or 2 semesters, so 6 months to 1 month, whatever you want to study, and you may get accredited from Ciputra University again. But before that, when you do so, do check with your academic counselor whether the units are mapped correctly so that you get the credit from when you go back to the UC. Another pathway that's available for you is a master's pathways. Once you complete the bachelor's from University of Ciputra, do let us know the areas of study, the area that you may be interested in. We have a lots of postgraduate opportunity that you may be able to enter directly from the course. Master of International Business or Master of Commerce in various major areas. I'm sure that we will be able to find the right fit for you. And also, if you are communication students, you may also consider Master of Arts as well. So we have the options available, so let us know. Now I'd like to hand it over to, I have taken a little more time than I expected, but I'd like to introduce my Patricia Kelly to answer some of the frequently asked questions. Patricia, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Thank you, Mina. But
I'll
before
hand over to you. Yeah.
Thank you. But before I begin with the FAQ, I just need to check with the hosts, all of the hosts, because I see Rob's is here and he was supposed to start at 1:30. How do you want to proceed this? Shall we just postpone the FAQ after Rob's session, or?
We can come back to this session if you like, Ms. Garcia and Ms. Amanda.
That's okay. We can go back to our FAQ at the end of Professor Robert's session.
Yeah.
Okay, as of now, then, if any students are interested in this program, any questions that you would like to ask about the program, please fill out the Slido link. You can put out your questions and we will ask the questions at the end of the guest lecture session. So I guess I'll go back to Miss Amanda. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for Ms. Mina Cho and also Ms. Patricia Kelly, and also our moderator, Ms. Gracia, for students who have questions for our UC Global Chat speakers, for Ms. Mina Cho or Ms. Patricia Kelly. You can open your slido.com and then type the code 213742 to leave your questions for them. Don't be shy. They can answer everything about Curtin University, of course. Okay, thank you for them. Maybe you can have them a round of applause from the reaction on your Zoom. Let us give them appreciation. Thank you, Ms. Minacho and also Ms. Patricia Kelly and also Ms. Gracia to be our moderator for UC Global Chat. So UC Global Chat is a regular program held by Networking and Partnership Department, Universitas Ciputra Surabaya. So if you guys want to know more about studying abroad, about summer program and everything about studying international, you may contact Ms. Gracia in Networking and Partnership Department. So the time has come. We're about to welcome our guest lecturer for our theme today, Leadership and Intercultural Communication. I believe our main lecturer has already joined the Zoom. May I greet Professor Robert Evans. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Enjoying.
Thank you for joining with us. Okay, I will introduce Professor Robert Evans first for our student here. So, Professor Robert Evans is the Dean International and Professor of Accounting, Faculty of Business and Law at Curtin University. He rejoined CBS in 2018 following 6 years as the Pro Vice Chancellor and President of Curtin, Singapore. Previous to this, he held tenure positions in Curtin's Graduate School of Business, including director of the school from 2003 to 2008. Professor Evans has extensive international experience, having held visiting appointments at the University of Bristol, UK, the University of St. Thomas or St. Paul, United States, in addition to consulting and teaching appointments in a number of countries. He has also been active in management training in Australia in both private sector and government organization. Prior to joining Curtin, he held several professional accounting and management positions within the energy sector. So we would like to hear her teach today. So without longer ado, Professor Evans, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. I hope everybody can see and hear me clearly. Please let me know if it's not clear. Okay, that sounds good. All right, well, it's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And as you can see I'm now speaking from my office in Perth, and you'll see we have a lovely blue sky behind me. So it's another nice day here in Western Australia, and I hope you're also enjoying a pleasant day in your hometown. I did actually have the opportunity to visit Universitas Ciputra about 2 years ago, before the pandemic. And I was still have my mug here to prove it.
Lovely,
nice
Professor, lovely.
And I use it very regularly, as you can see.
Oh, I send you new one.
I should wash it, actually. But yes, so I was very pleased to receive that and have put it to very good use for the last couple of years. As you can see, today's topic is going to be about leadership and intercultural communication. And I think it's a really good topic, because here I am in Australia talking to a group of people in Indonesia. So we are actually practicing intercultural communication as we speak. So think of this not just as a lecture, but really intercultural communication in action. And I think it's a very important skill for the future. I was reflecting on my career from when I graduated very many years ago as a student. My expectation was that I would work in a company in Western Australia, probably in Perth, that most of the staff would be from Perth, that the customers that we sold our products or services to would be living in Perth or Western Australia, that the suppliers of our products would be from Perth. And this was fairly typical of that generation. And it would have been exactly the same in Indonesia. Most companies would have been buying and selling from other Indonesians, and that the business would have been very much local. But you, as leaders of the future, the students here today, you will be going into a very different world where your organizations will be almost, even if they're located in Indonesia, their clients or customers will probably be international people. Their suppliers will be international. It's quite possible that the staff will be multinational as well. You will be in a position where many of you will be working potentially outside of Indonesia for some period of your career. So intercultural understanding and communication is really key these days. We can't really just be in a bubble in our own country without understanding how other people see the world and be able to interact with them as we're doing today. So I think the topic is one that should be of interest to all of you. Okay, I will now just share with you my screen so that you can look at the overheads I've prepared. Okay, can you see the screen at the moment? Excellent.
Yes.
All right, so just the objectives for today. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership. So I'm going to just draw out some of the differences between leadership and management. We're going to look at some of the challenges that are facing leaders in a globalized world. We're then going to look at some cultural frameworks. This is really how we understand the differences between cultures. And finally, cross-cultural communication. How do we communicate effectively across cultures? And I put up a slide about Curtin, mainly just to show you that as my example earlier, when I talked about the workplace changing, when I first came to Curtin University, all of our students were from Western Australia. And most of our staff, if not all of our staff, were from Australia. If you come to Curtin today, what you'll find is that we have students from 130 different countries on campus. We have staff, I think around half of our staff were born overseas, were not born in Australia. So the world has changed very rapidly, and Curtin University has changed. We also have campuses, as you see, in Mauritius, Singapore, Dubai, and Malaysia. And I, in fact, worked in Singapore for 6 years, running the campus there. So we are, in many ways, practicing what I'm talking about today, which is intercultural leadership. And I think it is the way that many organizations have moved over the years. Okay, is leading the same as managing? I think the main thing to talk about here is when we talk about leadership, many people believe that leadership is about senior people. It's about CEOs. It's about senior government people. But in fact, anybody can be a leader, and everybody is asked to be a leader at some point in their lives. And often they are leaders regularly. And just to give you an example, if you're a student, if you are a student in a group and you're asked to do an assignment, and you might be working with a group of 4 other students, then invariably one of you will take a leadership role. And the sort of work that the leader of that group is doing is they're trying to work out what the long-term vision is for that particular assignment. They're saying to the group, this is what I would like us to achieve as a group. This is what the output, this is how we go about getting an A for this assignment. This is what I'd like to see us do. But they also are about motivating that group. They're trying to say to the group, this is how we should work together. This is why I think we should do this. This is how we'll feel if we are successful. So it's about motivation as well, and inspiring people to do better. That is what the leader of the group is doing in that case. Then we hand over to a manager. Now, the manager might be the same person, or they might be a different person. The manager who's inspired by this vision then says, okay, I understand the vision. I understand what we're trying to achieve. This is what we need to do to achieve it. You can do this task, and you can do this task, and I'll do this task, and let's all meet back together in 1 week's time and compare notes and draw together what we've done. So they start going about organizing and making things happen. And so that really is the differences between leadership and management. If we look here, it's the difference between vision and strategy is leading, creating value, influence and inspiration. These are things that leaders do. Managers, of course, are still important. They're very important, but they're really about realizing those goals by managing the activities and making sure that the work is done. So those two things are needed. But I think we should all keep in mind that all of you are leaders. And whether it be in a community group, it might be some volunteering that you're doing, it might be completing an assignment, as I've just said. At some point, you need to lead. And so you need to think about these criteria of a leader. What is a leader actually doing? And why are they successful? And if you can achieve that, of course, your group then will also be successful. If you can really inspire people to do their best, then you will have a very successful group experience. Okay, of course, when we go on to a bigger stage, perhaps with companies, we know that there are now a number of challenges that face companies on a daily basis. I've mentioned earlier about globalization and the fact that we can expect to be operating in a global world. Even if we're in a small business, in fact, it will be a global business because it will be competing on the internet for all of its products and services. So every business is really exposed to competition from every other business that produces a similar product or service, no matter which country they're operating in. We therefore have to deal with regulatory impositions in many different countries. So rather than just knowing about the laws of Indonesia, if you're operating in a global environment, you're going to have to understand the legalities and regulations across the world. We are also, you'll see there a number of items around poverty, human rights, ethics, sustainability, social inequity, investor influences, security concerns. All of these things are nowadays much more important to companies. In the past, it's fair to say that companies were largely about maximizing profit. They were set up as profit-making businesses, and their main concern was, how do we go about making a profit? Nowadays, the pressures on companies are not just about making a profit, but they have to do it in a way that is sustainable. And by sustainable, I mean that they have to be acceptable to the rest of society. A business has to satisfy not just its own needs to make profits, it has to satisfy all of the groups that in fact are part of that or are impacted by that business. So nowadays, companies have responsibilities to their staff. One of the greatest concerns that any manager has now in Australia will be around the safety of their staff. It's not about saving money. It's actually a very costly thing to do, but it is absolutely necessary to protect the safety of your staff. And that's a major concern here. Managers more and more have to consider the environment and the impact of their business on the environment. Again, if they don't do that, then they find that there's considerable pressure put on them by both governments, but also by shareholder groups. So shareholders, the investors themselves, are looking for companies to respect the environment and to build sustainable businesses. An example of that recently in Australia is around coal mining. Now, for a number of years, we have been asked, or people have been trying to establish a new coal mine in Australia to export largely to India. But so far, there has been very little success in opening that coal mine, largely because the financiers, the banks and finance companies and superannuation funds and hedge funds are refusing to finance a coal mine. And the reason that they're refusing to finance a coal mine is because they're aware of the environmental damage that that mine will do. And they're also aware that at any point in time in the future, that coal mine could be shut down due to environmental concerns. So they're not prepared to take the risk anymore on those types of products or services that in fact lead to global, in this case, climate change. So you can see that business leaders are being much more impacted by these types of concerns than they were in the past. And I think that's important that we understand that, because the context of leadership from now on will be one in which we have to consider all of those competing interests and balance them for the benefit of our companies, but also the benefit of our nations. Okay, now the main emphasis that I'm going to talk about today is around intercultural communication, which is just one aspect of leadership. But it's a very important aspect, as I mentioned before. And I've just got a quick example here of where intercultural communication goes wrong. And so the example on the left is one of Procter & Gamble, which is a US company. They advertised a particular product in Japan. The product was actually diapers, or as we call them in Australia, nappies. Now diapers, they showed a particular advertisement where a stork delivers diapers to a couple who have recently had a child. Now, in American history or folklore, when you're trying to talk to children about how children were born, they often explain it by saying that the stork delivered the child. Rather than explain childbirth, they'll simplify it and say that a child was delivered by a stork. And in this case, they decided that they would use that in Japan, that same advertisement in Japan, to sell their diapers. But Japan has a similar but very different history. When they talk to a child about childbirth, they say that the newborns arrived by floating on a giant peach down the river. So that is a very different way of describing to a child how the baby arrived. And you can see why the advertisement, when it was played in Japan, made no sense to the Japanese people. They didn't understand the history of the advertisement. They didn't understand the culture that led to that advertisement, and therefore the advertisement was meaningless. And so this is a sort of mistake that we can make if we don't understand different cultures, different histories of those cultures. Now, I've just given here a few very simple examples of some of the things that can go wrong. So in the left here, we talk about where we fill in the missing piece. So in my culture, it is something. It can be normal, polite, impolite, rude, or strange to be a little late to a business meeting. So in the Indonesian culture, it is a little what to be late to a business meeting. Is it normal? Now, I know you can't answer me, so I'll give you what my experience in Indonesia is that it is normal to be late to a business meeting. So
Yes, correct, Rob.
okay. And people aren't concerned by that. They think that that's fine and perfectly usual, and it might be explained by the traffic, or it might be that you're in have other commitments, but it's considered to be normal. Whereas in Australia, it's not considered to be normal. It would probably be considered to be impolite to be late to a meeting, because we would see it as other people have made it on time. Why didn't you? And we've had to hold up the meeting specifically for one person, and that's not fair on everybody else. So that's how we look at people who come late to a meeting. It's a very different viewpoint. And so you can see that this could give rise to misunderstandings, depending on your viewpoint. Okay, the next one is, if we were to disagree with older people or people who are more powerful than you, is that normal? Is it polite, impolite, rude, or strange? So again, I'll answer for you. I think in Indonesia, it's probably impolite to disagree with older people or people that are more powerful than you. And you probably wouldn't do it normally. So, and that's certainly my experience in teaching in Indonesia and in many other parts of Asia, actually. People, for instance, will never disagree with me. They'll say, oh, he's a professor. I can't disagree with what he's saying. I just accept what he is saying. Whereas in Australia, my students regularly disagree with me, and they'll say to me things like, I think you're wrong. So they don't necessarily, just because I'm a professor, it doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to challenge me and to question what I'm saying. They're quite happy to question me and say, I really don't think that's correct. And they might say things like, well, that doesn't happen in my workplace. This is how we do it. Or, you know, I think you're wrong about Indonesian people. I think they would be different to that. And because I have a friend who's very different. So that is the sort of culture that we have here, which is very much challenging. And I'll explain why these differences occur shortly. But it's very much a challenging of those types of powerful people and even older people by younger people. Okay, so how do some of these differences come about and how do we actually look at them? There was a scientist called Hofstadter who back in the 1970s actually did a survey. He worked for a very large computing company at the time, and he surveyed some 100,000 of the staff in 70 different countries. So this was a very large multinational company. And based on that surveys, he was trying to find out people's different attitudes in different nations, because in fact, he was trying to put together some training courses for staff, and he was trying to make it relevant to staff in different countries. So he wanted to understand the sort of cultural differences that existed. And based on this, he came out with these results, that people or cultures, in this case it was national cultures, are different based on these different dimensions. So individualism versus collectivism, power distance, and so on. I'll explain what these are. But these differences he found to be quite consistent. Now, as we'll see, I've looked specifically, I should introduce Mr. Hofstede himself. Here he is. And I should say this piece of research that he did has been extremely widely used. It's been cited in thousands and thousands of journals over many years. So it's a very well tried and tested, and in fact, it has been improved upon over time. But the basic theory is the same. So it is widely used in both management journals, but also in psychology. And you'll probably see, as you go through your course, you'll probably see his name come up from time to time, I'm sure. So here we are with Australia versus Indonesia. As I said, he did this over 70 different countries, but I've just picked the two of us because I think this is the two that is most relevant to us. And you'll see that we differ. And most strongly, we differ on this thing called individualism. So Indonesia is considered to be very low on individualism. Australia is considered to be very high on individualism. Now, I just wanted to make a few comments before I proceed further. The first one is that these things are not about being one is better than the other, okay? So being low on individualism is not bad. Being high is not good, okay? It's just different. And as you'll see, we are quite different on a number of areas, but it is neither bad nor good. What we're really striving for is to understand what these differences are and the fact that they exist. But it's not about trying to be one thing or the other. We're obviously very comfortable, but I'm sure people in Indonesia are also very comfortable with your culture, as you should be. And so it's really about understanding each other's culture. The second point to make is that this is about an average for a nation. It's not about an individual. So every person, of course, can be different. Not every person will feel like this or be like this. They might be quite different. And also nations change. When I was young in Australia, it was mainly, almost entirely Western culture. It was made up of a population that was either born in Australia or had immigrated from the the UK, and to a smaller extent from Italy and Greece. So that was pretty much where every Australian came from, was the United Kingdom, Italy and Greece. If I walk around today in Perth, I see a very different Australia. I see Australia from Italy, Greece and the UK, but I also see large numbers of people from Southeast Asia. And I see some people from the Middle East as well. So the population has changed in its nature. And of course, as the population changes, so do some of these, I guess, measures of how people behave. Now, of course, the national culture is quite strong. So generally, when people immigrate into a culture, they also change to fit the culture. But nevertheless, over time, there is some impact on it. And I'm sure our culture has changed as a result of that, but not dramatically. Okay, so let's look at some of these in a bit more detail. Just check my time. Okay. So individualism, as you can imagine, it really talks about how we interact with the rest of society. And so in Indonesia, the connections to other people are very strong. The connections to family, connections to groups within Indonesia are incredibly strong. And so when you do something, you often think about the impacts on other people, on your family, on the groups that you work with. That is very strong in terms of how you make decisions. In Australia, it is less so. We tend to think mainly about ourselves and to some extent about our families as well, but only our direct family. So largely when we make decisions, it's about how does the decision impact on me and how does it impact on my direct family? And that's how we go about making our decisions. We don't really consider everybody else in those decisions. And so we're not constrained in that respect, but of course, it means also that we don't have those close ties. And you'll see in the notes there, it talks, in the second point, it talks about Indonesians will often look after their elderly parents at home. Now, in Australia, our elderly parents, and I'm getting to be one, we will often go into either aged care homes or even hospitals rather than stay with our children. So it's a very different world. And we learn, and that's really to do with individualism and independence. So our children really see themselves as separate, even from their parents to some extent. And it's so, as you can imagine, there's some positives and negatives arrive from that. When it comes to employment, it also has an impact. So when it talked about promotion decisions, all of our promotion is based on merit. It's about performance. So we tend to have ways of judging people's performance and assessing their performance, which are independent. And we place a lot of emphasis on that being independent and objective. So we don't promote people because they're related to somebody. We don't protect people because they're somebody's relative in a position. The workplace is seen as very different from your personal relationships. And so there's a complete, I guess, objectivity about work, which may not exist in Indonesia. Power distance. This really is very similar to the example I gave earlier about talking to the professor. As you see, in Indonesia, power distance is considered to be high. This means that you have great respect for people in high level positions, for teachers, for professors, for people, for managers and so often. And so that brings with that certain expectations. So you expect those people to lead. You expect those people to tell you what to do, and you see that as their job to tell you what to do because they're the leaders. So when a professor comes in the room, you expect them to give you a lecture like I'm doing now, and you expect that you will learn from that. In Australia, the power distance is quite low. And what that means is that it sets up a different type of workplace. The workplace is very much based on negotiation. So if I have people working for me and I want them to do something, it's not as easy as me just going out the door and saying, I want you to do this, and I want you to do it now. If I do that, they'll say, well, I'm too busy. I have other things on. So they won't actually just stop and do what I've told them. They will actually challenge me and say, why are you asking me to do this? Why is this more important than what I'm doing now? Explain to me why I have to do this. They may even say, this is not my job. I don't get paid to do this. So you'll have to ask somebody else. I'm not doing it. So we have a very different approach. So ours is much more about participative workplace. It's about people have to discuss workloads. We have to discuss how we allocate things. We have to manage that by communicating. we often have things like job descriptions, which people will work to and say, we've agreed that this is your job and that I won't ask you to do anything other than what's in this job description, because if I do, then you have the right to say, no, that's not my job. Okay, now that would be very different in Indonesia, where the response will be, he's my boss, he's asked me to do something, I'm going to do it. So that also means that, you know, when we communicate across countries, we are in a very different position as well. And we need to keep this in mind when we are operating, or if we're operating a business in a different country. We need to be aware that the values and the way that we respond will be quite different. And we can't bring our own methods to a different environment. Okay, indulgence is also a very significant difference. So this deals with, I guess, really it's about how we balance our work and our life. And so in Indonesia, there's quite a strong work ethic, and one where, and as it says there, Indonesians have a perception that their actions are restrained by social norms and feel that indulging themselves is somewhat wrong. Whereas in Australia, we tend to be quite open to indulging ourselves, and we tend to put enjoying life and having fun as most important. And so if there's a balance between work and life, we tend to work towards more the fun side and having a good life rather than actually the work side of it. And I see this particularly when we deal with people in, say, China or Japan, who put a lot of emphasis on work and get a lot of their satisfaction from work. Whereas Australians tend not to do that. They tend to have, we work in order to make money so that we can have fun. It's a very different way of seeing the world. We don't live to work. We live to have fun, and work enables us to achieve that. And so this also is a very different approach. And finally, in terms of orientation, this is the last significant area of difference. It's really about sacrificing for the future. So in this case, the studies show that Indonesians are quite happy to sacrifice now in order to get some benefits in the long term. And I think you see that in your education. For many of you, your parents, for instance, are making very significant sacrifices for you to go to school and to go to university and to get a good education, because they see the long-term benefits of doing that. And they see the I guess the positives in that investment in the long term. Whereas Australians tend to think more short term, we tend to focus more on immediate results and getting quick returns to any investment that we make. So as I say, with all of these things, we're not talking about one being better than the other. They're just about differences. And, you know, sometimes they're good things. Sometimes they may impede what we would like to do. We might find that society is a little overbearing at times, or we would like to do things different. But at the same time, they often also protect us and look after us in various ways. So it's a balance. And there's just a couple more. In these ones, these are less different. So I won't go through these because we have limited time. But there's masculinity, and we also have uncertainty avoidance. This is really about how we deal with ambiguity and uncertainty. So Australians actually don't like uncertainty or ambiguity. And so we like to have rules. We tend to have rules and processes and procedures. And And we generally enforce those rules and processes and procedures because we don't like or deal with uncertainty or ambiguity well. And it sounds as though in Indonesia, you're more used to uncertainty and ambiguity, and therefore it doesn't stress you that much. You get along with it and understand it and work with it. And you become what we call very pragmatic people. You just work within what's happening. So you're used to things changing and you change with it and you let things work and you make things work as best you can. Whereas Australians don't do well when things change. We tend to try and like things to be stable and understandable, and we like processes and procedures that everybody can follow. Okay, so those are the main differences, and you can see, I think, how they arise sometimes to misunderstandings, but it's important that we appreciate that really these are not, they don't stop us understanding each other or doing business together. And in fact, most people, when I look at this, I've emphasized the differences, but actually most people, if you like to think, we're 95% the same. We have the same goals in life. We have the same needs in life and the same wants. We all want our families and our children to do well. That is very common across the world. It doesn't matter which country you're in. And so mostly humans are humans, and they're very much common in their needs and wants. So what I've isolated here is just some of the smaller differences that we have, the subtle differences, so that we can understand each other even better. Now, there are other models that have been promoted over time. This one is called the Lewis model, and you'll see here Indonesia as well fits somewhere between multi-active and reactive, and you can learn about the different types here. And Australia is almost on the opposite side here between linear active and multi-active. And it's probably hard to summarize that, but I'll leave that to you to read through. But it is quite interesting, and again, draws out some of the differences. And finally, Trompenaars has also been another method. His is more similar to the Hofstadter method, where he came across a number of dimensions, but his dimensions are slightly different. And each country has been shown to be, one of these dimensions. And he has actually done a very similar survey across a number of countries. So these are some of the studies that have picked up differences. Okay, so just to finalize, a couple of quotes. So cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather cultural diversity brings a collective strength that will benefit all of humanity. So here we're saying really that we should see this as humans, as a strength, that we're different and that we can therefore discover things together by using our relative strengths. And one from Anthony Robbins: to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way that we perceive the world, and use this as an understanding, as a guide to our communication with others. So hopefully what I've done today will give you a little bit of insight into some of the differences, particularly between Australia and Indonesia. I don't profess to be an expert on Indonesia, so you'll have to look at that for yourselves and see whether it's realistic or not. But nevertheless, hopefully it's got you to think about things. As I say, it's all about developing respect for each other and trying to understand each other's differences. So thank you for listening, and I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Professor Evans. Give Professor Evans a round of applause by the reaction on your Zoom. What a marvelous lecture for him today. And I would like to ask students to give a question for Professor Evans, but maybe one for me, Professor Evans, about leadership. How to work in a organization point of view as a leader, how to work with such a diverse team, maybe in Australia and also Singapore. When you work at Singapore, you maybe have a really diverse team, because Singapore is a very high culture. They have a lot of race there, and how to gather differences from intercultural perspective.
Okay, thanks for the question, Amanda. Yes, that was a very interesting experience for me working in Indonesia and in Singapore, I should say. And you were right, most of the staff there were local Singaporeans, and many were ethnic Chinese people. And it was interesting in that it was a very different dynamic. I saw very clearly the power distance differences. So if you remember, I mentioned about power distance, and what I saw there was a staff who were very respectful of me because I was the person in charge, and were also very keen to do whatever I asked them. So I could come out of my office and say, I would like this, and I need it as soon as possible. Well, if I did that, people would work all night,
yes,
to get what I've done, what I asked for. Now that would, I can say, would not happen here. It's fair to say. So I
think Mina have some experience with that. No, you don't want to tell us something?
So it's a very different world, yes. And so people were very motivated by work and had a very, were really very, I think, got a lot of benefit from work. I mean, they saw work as very important and key to their life. Whereas, as I said here, to some extent in Australia, we have a slightly different attitude to work. That doesn't mean people here are not very competent. They are. It's just that they challenge. And sometimes challenging is very important as well. And one of the things I think other cultures could learn from Australia, and one of the things that I didn't see in Singapore, if I said something, asked them to do something that they thought was silly or wrong, nobody would question it. Nobody would say, well, I don't think that's a good idea. Yes. And sometimes as a leader, you need that. You need people to say to you, I think you might have made a mistake. I think that would be a problem if we do this. Yes. And instead of just saying, oh, you're the leader and I have to do what you say, and doing it, that would prevent a lot of errors. If sometimes people are prepared to speak up and say, sorry, that's just not going to work in this situation. And I suggest that we try something different. So that's probably something that I miss in that culture, because one of the great things here is that people, because through that challenging you learn. And often people, if you're in a senior role, of course, you don't have the knowledge or the ability of understanding what's happening on the ground floor. You're not necessarily interacting with customers. So sometimes I'm getting more and more distant from students. I enjoy these because I get a chance to talk to real students. But a lot of the time in my job at the moment, I only get to talk to other staff and I rarely get to talk to students. So I'm getting more and more distant from students. Whereas Mina talks to students all the time. So sometimes if I come out, I'll say, I think we should be doing this. And Mina will say, no, that wouldn't work.
Yes.
and that's very good that she says that, rather than just take my word for it. So that's one of the benefits of being challenged.
Wow, thank you so much, Professor Evan. There's one student who raised his hand. So I will allow Anthony. Hi, Anthony. You may open your mic and you may deliver your questions to Professor Robert Evans. Maybe you have to introduce yourself first, okay?
All right. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon, Anthony.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very well? That's great, that's great. Anyway, my name's Anthony. I'm from the Faculty of Communication, Science and Business of Ciputra. And I do have a question, which is, may I have your analysis between the connection between Indonesia and Australia from the point of view of communication and cultural exchange? Like, is it good, is it bad, or is it something very interesting?
Okay, thanks, Anthony, for your question. I think I do think there is probably a number of misunderstandings still between Australia and Indonesia. I look at our two countries and I look at the fact that we're so close together, and that we potentially have a lot in common. And so it surprises me that we sometimes don't get on as well as we should. And so I do think there probably are misunderstandings between the two cultures. And I think one of the great things about students moving between the two countries, and I hope that more and more students move from Australia to Indonesia as well, and also tourism, is that we are starting to get a better understanding by actually meeting people. So rather than working through politics, I think one of the ways we get to really understand a country is actually being there and talking to the people directly, like I'm talking to you now. That gives us a really good understanding of what people are like, and not necessarily, you know, governments are governments and they are representative of the people, but they're not necessarily exactly what people think. And I think it's worth sometimes people have in mind that we really, I think, have a lot more in common. And I always enjoy when I go to Indonesia, I really enjoy the people that I meet there. And I know certainly in Perth, many people go, particularly to Bali, of course, but also now more so to the rest of Indonesia. And, you know, the relationship has really blossomed since that personal experience has started. So I think people now have a very positive view of Indonesia and Indonesians, which may not have been the case 20 years ago.
All right, I understand. Thank you so much for the answer, Professor Robert.
Thank you. And you obviously are doing a communication course because you're a very good communicator. Well done.
Oh, thank you, Robert, Professor Robert. All right.
Great job, Anthony. Thank you for your question.
Good day, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Last question, Professor Evans, for wrapping up the lecture today. Knowing that there will and always be a difference or always differences in intercultural perspective, how should we position ourselves when we communicating with people from different culture or different views from us?
I think the main thing is to listen.
Yes.
I think this is really the key, is to listen to other people, not to try and go into a situation and immediately get down to business. And this is one of the issues certainly with the Western view of the world, which tends to be driven by contracts and laws and processes, is we often want to get straight to business, when really people from many other cultures, it's more about relationships and they want to understand each other. And so I think listening and trying to develop trust and relationships first before we move into sort of discussions around business is really key. Anything you can do, of course, beforehand is important as well. So making sure that you inform yourself about the country or the place that you're visiting, or the country that you're dealing with, as best you can. And there's lots of things you can read nowadays about countries. Inform yourself so that you go into it with some understanding before you start as well. So those are probably my key points.
Wow, thank you very much. To listen, students, before understanding, to understand our difference, you have to listen first. Thank you very much, Professor Evans. But we have a couple of questions for our speakers from UC Global Chat, Ms. Mina Cho and also Ms. Patricia Kelly. I maybe have to ask help from Ms. Gracia.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Amanda. Thank you, Professor Roberts, for the wonderful lecture today. It was very, very insightful for us.
Okay, thank you, Gracia.
Thank you.
Shall I leave it with Mina?
Maybe we have to take a picture together first,
okay.
I guess, before Professor Evans leave. This is a gold moment, guys. You have to open your cam to get a shot together with our lecturers, all the speakers today. I may ask our intern students to take our picture, maybe. Okay, Sharafin, are you ready to take our pictures? They are like 10 layers. Perhaps you have to lead one by one. Maybe we can take the first layer first. Smile, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Say cheers. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Robert, for your
The
patient
second layer.
answer and explain.
Second layer.
It was nice to see you again.
2,
Oh, you too.
The third layer. 1, 2, 3. The fourth layers. Prepare yourself. 1, 2, 3.
Bu Amanda, boleh tunggu sebentar, Bu?
Okay. Yes, Arjun.
Iya,
Silakan.
masih loading, Bu. Bentar.
Okay.
We have the whole set of communication school came down here today. Thank you a lot, guys.
Yes,
Yes.
no, it's a very good turnout. Thank you.
The fifth layer. 1, 2,
249, Professor. That's a lot.
Mm.
The
And we
sixth
have
layer.
around another 100 in the YouTube live.
The
You are
seventh
famous.
Okay. The eight. The eights all are not showing their cameras. Where are you guys? Okay, the ninth. And the last one. Yes, thank you very much, Professor Evans. Maybe we can see again in other events. Thank you for your materials today.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, students. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you again, Professor. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, Ms. Gracia, you may lead the Q&A session for Ms. Mina and also Mrs. Patricia Kelly.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Amanda. Okay, welcome back, students, to the UC Global Chat session for the Q&A. Ms. Patricia, would you like to share the frequently asked questions?
Give me a second. Sure.
And we have several questions from our students as well.
Yeah, okay. Give me a second. Okay. Hope you guys can see my screen. Yeah, so again, thank you for all of the students who are still here and still in the YouTube live, or maybe some in Instagram. I don't know whether IG live is also on. So as you can see on your screen, these are the frequently asked questions from Indonesia. So I changed that, okay? The template was used from another market or another country. So these are what we often encountered from potential Indonesian students. So the first related to the partnership between UC and Curtin. What are the minimum entry requirements to apply for double degree to Curtin University? As you may recall, the slides that Mina presented earlier. So we do have a double degree with the UC. So the entry requirements, the first, obviously you need to complete 2 years of your study at UC first. So 4 semesters, yeah. And then you receive a recommendation letter from UC. That would be from Ma'am Suryani's office, I believe. And then for Curtin University, the GPA, we follow the recommendation from UC. However, the IELTS, the English entry requirements, the IELTS is 6.0, no band less than 6.0. So listening, reading, writing, speaking needs to be 6.0 with overall score of 6.0. Okay, so when you ask when do I begin to apply, basically again after I think you need to start communicating with Mem Suryani and Miss Gracia's team. I think as early as possible, yeah, and then you can start your application after semester 3. That should be fine. We can wait for the semester 4. Otherwise, if you want to wait until it's almost at the end of semester 4, then it's okay too. So the earliest will be after you complete your semester 3. But I would recommend for you to come to Mem Suryani's office as early as possible. So even if you were still in semester 2, for example, just come and see her and her team, and then express your interest if you want to do a double degree or even single degree. So the study abroad option as well. What if I do not meet the English entry requirements? Well, I do believe in Surabaya you have options of taking IELTS or TOEFL preparations, and Mem Suryani's team also can recommend how you can increase your English comprehension and ability. And that's one option. The other option will be we currently have a English subsidy, so scholarship equivalent to 10 weeks of English. The amount is 6,580 Australian dollars to cover that. The equivalent is to the 10 weeks. So how can you actually do the 10 weeks is if you have IELTS equivalent score is lower than 0.5 lower than the required IELTS. Okay, so one of the skills or overall will be 5.5, for example. Then you may be eligible for the 10 weeks, and then we can actually give you the scholarship worth of that 10 weeks. Yeah. How much is the tuition fee per semester? At the moment, so 2021 indicative semester 1 for Bachelor of Commerce is 14,600 Australian dollars. Okay, per semester. Now you guys need to know and then report this back to your parents, obviously, because they're the banks, yeah, yang punya uang. So for you to know, there are two types of there are two factors, not types, factors where the tuition fee per semester can be different with the previous semester. Kalau, if I may use bahasa Indonesia, kalau di Indonesia, let's say saya bayar 10.000 semester 1 sampai semester 8 saya akan bayar 10.000, ya, for 4 years, for 8 semesters. Tapi kalau di Australia harus ada antisipasi kenaikan 5-10% setiap tahunnya. That is not only for Curtin University, so all across Australia. That's factor number 1. Factor number 2, harus ada antisipasi juga bahwa semester 1, for example, Anda membayar 10.000, semester kedua bisa jadi 10.500. Why is that? Because di Australia sistemnya per unit ada harganya masing-masing. So there is a possibility di semester kedua Anda mengambil 1 sampai 2 mata kuliah yang lebih mahal daripada yang lain. Yeah, so even in the same year, there is a possibility of a difference between the previous semester to the upcoming semester. Ya, itu harus diketahui dulu karena again culture tadi ya beda sistem. So education system in Australia as well as in Indonesia. Is there any scholarship available at the moment for 2022? If you are eligible for our merit scholarship, value-nya adalah 25% memotong uang sekolah 1 semester pertama. Because when you come to Curtin University, you will be doing 1.5 years. Ya, jadi 25% memotong uang sekolah 1 tahun pertama. And should the Australian borders are still closed, ya, obviously ini saya menjawab yang nomor 7 juga. Kalau masih tutup, on top of the 25%, you will get starter support scholarship with the value of 2,000 Australian dollars. Jadi 25% memotong uang sekolah 1 semester pertama ditambah 2,000 Australian dollars. Ini buat 2022 dan jika Australian borders masih tutup. Ya, kalau saya lanjutkan pertanyaan sebelum saya ke nomor 6 ke nomor 7, when will Australian borders open? Professor Robert Evans tidak bisa menjawab, Mina juga tidak bisa, cannot answer that question. The Prime Minister of Australia also cannot answer that particular question. Ya, jadi biasanya kami bilang ini adalah pertanyaan dengan jawaban berhadiah 1 miliar US dollars. Ya, kalau ada yang bisa jawab langsung dapat uang itu. But from my personal point of view, 2022 masih belum, my personal point of view. But as you probably may have heard, New South Wales, jadi salah satu negara bagian di Australia, has been approved to actually do a pilot, memanggil international students, selected international students untuk kembali ke Australia. Tapi masih planning, ya. So it's because the uncertainty the percentage of the uncertainty is very high, very big. Jadi my personal point of view, it's a bit difficult for us to come to Australia next year. But who knows? I could definitely be wrong. Yeah. The last is, what is the cost of living in Perth? Tergantung gaya hidup ya, teman-teman mahasiswa. I put myself at your level ya, berasa supaya saya bisa umur sebelum 20. Sekitar 1.000 sampai 1.500 Australian dollars per bulan, depending on your lifestyle. Ya, if you are the collector of Air Jordan limited edition sneakers, jangan pakai budget yang saya kasih. Or if every 2 months you need to buy a new Louis Vuitton bag or pouch, jangan pakai budget yang barusan saya berikan. Okay, because that's extra money ya from mommy and daddy. Basically 1,000 to 1,500. Kalau ditanya, does it include accommodation? Yes and no. It depends on the type of property or the type of accommodation that you will choose. Ada yang share bathroom, tapi ada yang nggak suka punya kamar mandi di luar or something like that. Or you get a property where kalau buka jendela di pagi hari, you get to see dolphins. Di Perth bisa ya, dolphins yang ada di belakang jendela. Atau Anda buka pintu, Anda sudah bisa memandang sungai. Kalau di Indonesia, apalagi di Jakarta ya, buka pintu menghadap sungai, harga properti pasti murah. Tapi kalau di Australia, menghadap sungai itu seolah-olah menghadap pantai. Jadi price-nya tinggi. Ya, so it depends. Kalau Anda rajin masak, then that's even better. So if you cook regularly, that can lower the budget. Tapi saya I don't actually tell you not to actually go out and have coffees or hang out with your friends or whatever. Saya tidak bilang nggak boleh, harus malah, so that you can build your networks ya outside your campus. But you just need to weigh. Jadi harus ditimbang ya. berapa hari masak, berapa hari jajan. And on top of that, if you come and study at Curtin University in Perth, public transport ada discount untuk mahasiswa 40% for all public transport. This does not apply in other cities in Australia, only in Perth. Yeah, so dari 40% discount plus the lower cost of living, and we are number 6 in the world now for the most affordable city. Then you should be able to actually get the nice budget for you to live in Perth later. Okay, I think that's the FAQ that we have. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you very much, Miss Patricia. So actually all of the FAQ already answered most of our students' questions about the scholarship and then when to start. So they will start around their third year, 5th, 6th, and 7th semester, right? And by the 8th, they will come back to UC to finish the degree at UC. Okay, well, everyone already got answered for the question. So for those who are interested in the program, you can contact me via my email at gracia.ongkowijoyo@ciputra.ac.id. So as early as possible, just like Miss Patricia mentioned, you can come to us and ask about the program. So for those students,
maybe I just sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I just put this up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So not because I have my photo there, but it's because Miss Gracia's photo is there, and all of our email addresses. Yeah. Jadi if you want to get in touch with Mina or myself, that's our email addresses. But your first point of contact will be Miss Gracia.
Thank you very much, Miss Patricia. So everyone, you can screenshot this and you can contact us anytime. For the students who are not in IBMIC study program, you are available to join the study abroad, which is student exchange program. Okay, that is all for our UC Global Chat session. Thank you very much, Miss Patricia, and thank you very much, Miss Mina. Thank you very much, Miss Amanda, for the extra time. So back to you.
Why, thank you, Miss Gracia, Miss Mina, and also Mrs. Patricia for the insight, for the opportunity to learn and study in Curtin University. Why, student? That is our closing for our events today. One more time, please check your e-learn for your own class to read the instruction about the resume submission. So in my class, International Communication, you have to submit your resume before 4:30 p.m. So make sure you work on it now and you submit your work in our e-learn website. Let's give a round of applause again one more time for Networking and Partnership Department, Ms. Gracia Ongkowijoyo, Mrs. Suryadi, and also our guest lecturer today, Mrs. Curtin from Curtin University, Mrs. Patricia Kelly, and also Miss Mina. Okay, student, that's the end of our class. See you in our next week class, and make sure you pay attention to our e-learn before the class next week. Okay, I'm Amanda signing out. Thank you and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Miss Amanda.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
Don't forget to fill out the survey.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you.
Don't forget to fill out the survey, you guys. Check your cheese and fill out the survey about today's event. Thank you.